Hello, I'm Frank Eaton. I'm the principal at Lang Elementary School and excited to share with all of the families of our students here at Lang some of the really cool things that are going on to start the 21-22 school year. First, I'd like just to welcome everybody back to a little more normal school year. It's really nice that we have our students all day this year when we had to stay in a half day model last year. We're able to do lunch again and some of the other things. Obviously, there are quite a few precautions and protocols that we have to still engage in and make sure that we are keeping our students and our staff as safe as possible. Um, but it's been a great start to the school year. So the rest of this video is going to be a welcome from your child's specific teacher. And then after that, each of our teachers here at Lang have created a video to talk about something specific, a different piece of curriculum or whatnot. And it will inform you just as far as a lot of the different things that we're doing here at Lang. So once again, welcome to our kindergartners for 21-22. Excited to have this group. It's been fun already and look forward to the rest of the school year. Thank you.
Hello, families. I hope everyone is doing well. This is a little video that is just going to explain some of the things that we have coming up in our classroom. This is in lieu of having our big open house that we typically have at Lang. There will be some videos from me and then some videos from the other teachers discussing the particulars of our curriculum. So we are off to a really great start in kindergarten. Some of you may have noticed your child might be a little sleepy or grumpy sometimes. That is very normal for the beginning of kindergarten. It is a hard transition, especially if your child hasn't been in a full day school program. So just hang in there. We usually see that after a few full months of kindergarten, kids really begin to acclimate to the new schedule. But this is a super sweet class. I've really enjoyed getting to know all of your sweet kiddos, and I think it's going to be a great year. Just to cover a couple of things, first of all, thank you for emptying those blue folders every night, making sure you're marking your child's lunch calendar, making sure your child has a snack every day and their water bottle. That is super helpful. Things have been going really smooth with all of that. Please do remember for snack time, if you can avoid sending anything that's very messy, that's really helpful. You can imagine with all the kids eating at their tables, that can get a little messy if we have messy foods like yogurts and Cheetos and things like that. So if you can refrain from sending in any messy snack, that's super helpful. Make sure that you are receiving the Friday emails that I send. So each Friday, I send the Friday message. It tells you a little bit about what we did that week, what we have coming up. It will share any important events that you need to know about. That is all shared through that Friday message. So make sure that you are checking that and that you are receiving that, and let me know if you are not. Star Student, we're starting pretty soon. Each week we will have a child will get the chance to be the star student. When it's your child's turn, you will get a paper that looks like this that just outlines the things that they're doing. It's very simple. They will have a little poster to fill out about themselves and bring this in on Monday, along with 5 to 7 pictures that just show the classroom. It's fun if they can bring in like pictures from each year of their life. So they really enjoy, they think it's funny to see each other as babies up until now. So we will also, they get to bring in a book, one of their favorite books, and I will read that to the class. And they also get to bring in a show and tell of their choice. So we will have show and tells throughout the year, but they are typically like a theme, like bring in something that reminds you of fall or winter, things like that. This is their one opportunity to get to bring in a show and tell of their choice. I just ask that you make sure that it does fit in that backpack so it's not hard for them to get their show and tell to and from school. You will just get this on Friday before it is your child's star student. week so that you have over the weekend to prepare any items to send in on Monday, and each child will get a turn. Chromebooks have come home, and I'm not sure if you saw in that Friday message right now, the teachers are really just asking you to store those in a safe place. Your child does not need to use them at this time. However, if your child is like mine and they are really excited about doing something on their Chromebook, you do have that login sheet where you can log on. Invites have been sent to your child's email. They do have an email to access our Google Classroom. And on the Google Classroom, we'll be posting choice boards. So just kind of optional fun things for your child to do if they want to get on to those Chromebooks. Things like books, activities you can do with sight words, just different things like that. So that is totally optional, but we want you to know that it's there. Some other fun things they can do with their Chromebooks. We have Reading A to Z, their RAS Kids. You'll be getting a login at conference time. And these are books that are at your child's reading level. So some of them are super simple text because those can be kind of hard to find. It can help build some fluency and confidence with their reading. So you can get on the RAS Kids. Another fun site is Starfall. If you haven't ever been on there, that's just a fun website that they can get on, letter sounds, number identification, some nursery rhymes, things like that. So if your child really wants to get on, those are a few things that you can do with the Chromebooks. They will be staying home all year. We will not be asking you to send them back and forth. We will be scheduling conferences at the last week of October. So I will be sending out a Sign Up Genius where you will be able to select the time where you would like to meet for your child's conference. And at that time, I'll also be going over reading bags. We will start sending reading bags home. They will look like this. Your child's name will be at the top. Inside, you will find their reading log. If you can write the title of the book, the date they read it, and initial it, that's just a nice way for me to keep track of what they're doing at home. And some of the books will look like this. They'll be paper books. These are actually the same books that you can access on RAS Kids online. And then sometimes they will be just a regular book. We do need these books back, so your child will have the opportunity to bring the reading back home, read the books a few times to help build some confidence and fluency, and then they will send these books back in and we'll just trade those out. So I'll give you some more details about that when we meet at conference time. Again, I will be sending out a Sign Up Genius. That Sign Up Genius link will come in the Friday message that gets sent out, probably not this week, but the following week, so that you can choose a time. I hope all of your children are loving school right now. That is my main goal, that kids come to school happy and enjoy it. And of course, we are doing lots of learning, but we're off to a great start. So thank you for all of your efforts in helping make it a successful start to the school year. Thanks so much.
Hi, Lang families. My name is Erin Bourne, and I am a kindergarten teacher here at Lang. I am going to talk about handwriting and the program we use to help with our handwriting curriculum. So, handwriting is when your child is working on learning the correct formation of numbers in capital letters and lowercase letters. We're also working on the orientation of the letter and the placement on the line. And we're working on building strengthening our recall of those letters and numbers. So that way when your child's going to write and they're going to write a word and they're trying to produce a letter for a sound they hear, that way they've got it in their working memory and they're able to produce that letter and write it down, and they don't have to take time to think about that, which can impede their writing. So it also helps develop their writing skills as well. The handwriting program that we use is Handwriting Without Tears, which is a program that I am a huge fan of. So the picture on your screen right now is the front of your child's handwriting book. So we call it our orange book a lot of times. But the orange handwriting book goes in a developmental order. So we learn our capital letters first and then our lowercase letters. And we start with the easier letters, and that helps them gain confidence and master those skills. And then they introduce the letters that are a little bit more challenging and help build on that prior knowledge of the skills that they've used on the other letters that we've learned. So the handwriting book is not overwhelming and it's very manageable for kindergartners. This is a picture of one of the pages in the handwriting book. So they're not asked to write the letter over and over and over again. It's just 4 times for each letter. And so they practice the correct formation, the placement on the line, and the orientation. And this book is great for lefties as well. A lot of times, if you're left-handed, you have to lift your hand or kind of turn your hand a certain way to see the model, but they've got models on the left and right so that no matter if your child's left-handed or right-handed, they're able to see a model of what the letter is that they're working on. So for handwriting, you will get a copy of this letter, and in it also goes over the formation that we use to make our capital letters, lowercase letters, and our numbers. So we talk a lot and use the wording of lines and curves to make our letters and numbers. And so if I scroll down here, these are the capital letters. So it has the wording that we use when we're writing those, and then as well as the lowercase letters. And then the last part is the numbers. So the lowercase letters is when we'll start using 2 lines to help with the size of the letter and the placement on the line. We're also working on pencil grip when we are working on handwriting. So a lot of times we are working on breaking those habits of holding pencils the different ways, but we are working on mainly 2 grips: the standard tripod grip with your index finger and thumb pinching the pencil, and then your pencil rests on the middle finger, and then as well as the quadrupod grip, which involves the 4 fingers, the thumb, index, and middle finger pinch it, and then the pencil rests on the ring finger. So we're working really hard on using those pencil grips. Not only will it help them become more fluid writers, but it will also help make writing a lot more easier and help them reduce that hand fatigue when they have to start writing more. Fine motor is another thing that we've been working a lot on in kindergarten, and we incorporate a lot of different fine motor activities into our day to help strengthen those fine motor muscles. So a lot of times, their little hands, their muscles aren't strong enough to sustain in a writing activity for a long period of time. So we work on different activities to help build and strengthen those muscles. At school, we do a lot of cutting, even ripping paper, Play-Doh, playing with little objects. At home, if you have any Legos or Lincoln Logs, any building things with the small pieces, stringing beads or cereal onto a string, or even any games that involve moving little pieces around, help use those fine motor muscles, and that will help them gain strength and increase their stamina in writing as well.
Hello, Lang families. My name is Erica Davis, and I'm one of the teachers here at Lang. I am here to talk to you about the phonics dance and writing as well. So to start off, the phonics dance is a great way that we learn our letters and our letter sounds. We have these pictures posted in our classroom, and there is a picture along with a letter, and then there's a little chant with some motions that we do with those chants. So this is a great way to connect our visual and auditory and kinesthetic learners because there's lots of different parts to the phonics dance. So it's a great way for kids to make connections with those letter sounds. So I'm going to do a couple of them for you. This is the letter A, obviously, and here we see a picture of Abby, and Abby is clearly very, very sad. So our phonics dance for the letter A goes like this. A says ah. Abby is sad. Is a. Wah. So we do this. The kids really like getting into it and acting it out. And it helps them make a connection to that letter A and the sound that it makes. Another one that we do is the letter E. E is a tricky sound, but the motion that we do with the phonics dance really helps make that connection with the sound. So the letter E phonics dance goes like this. E says eh. Eddie loves his teddy, and Eddie loves E. We make a little heart. So it's kind of like a choo-choo motion. But since E is tricky, sometimes when kids can't remember what the letter E sound is, I just do this motion and that clicks in their brain. Oh yeah, I remember this as the S sound. So a lot of them do make really great connections with emotions and with the sounds. So the phonics dance is a great resource. Most of you should have the little phonics dance book that they brought home. It's like a little half book. They colored in the pictures. We did these as we learned the different sounds. And it's a great resource if you haven't pitched it. It's a great resource for you to just go through the book and have your child practice those letter sounds. And if they like to perform, to do the little chants that go along with them. When it comes to writing, of course, knowing our sounds and what the letters look like is super important. So a lot of the classes have a little phonics dance name tag. You could really have any alphabet in front of you is a great resource to use when you're just starting to teach writing. So we've had a focus on listening for the beginning sounds and words right now. So we've done a lot of listening for initial sounds, labeling pictures. So let's say a child wants to draw a picture of a dog. So listening for that first sound, d, d. Now let's say they can hear the first sound and identify the d sound, but they forget, oh, I know D says D, but I don't remember what it looks like. So using an alphabet to go through, most of the kids come knowing how to say their ABCs. So we talk a lot about finding a letter using our ABC song and using one-to-one correspondence with our finger. So if I know D, D says D, but I'm not sure what it looks like, I can sing my alphabet. A, B, C, D. I found the D here. So they could write down the letter using an alphabet resource. So we start with writing very simply, listening for the sounds and words. If they are ready, they might be ready to write the initial and the final sound. So if we're still working on that word dog, we would break out the sound d-og. And if they hear the d and the g at the end, that's an awesome thing. The vowel sounds typically come a little bit later, but of course, eventually we want them to be writing all of those sounds that they hear. We've also started talking about the difference between letters, how we use letters to then build words, and how those words are eventually used to build sentences. So we're introducing the difference between all of those things, and we are going to be starting to write sentences more and more. So one way that we kind of show what a complete thought is if we say, I see a, and the kids look and say, well, that doesn't really make any sense. So we say, that's not a complete thought. That would not be a sentence. But we have, I see a cat. Now you go, oh, okay, I know what that means. That's a complete thought. That is a sentence. So we're starting to write sentences. We start introducing that there have to be spaces between words. As we introduce new sight words and things like that, those are added to our word wall, and kids are encouraged to use the resources around the room to help them write down their sounds. One of the most important things that we want to tell parents is that kids learn to write through inventive spelling. And what that means is that we don't just tell children how to spell words. We want them to do their best to try to break out sounds and words and write down any sounds we know. So if you are ever writing at home with your child, if you want them to start a journal or write a card to somebody, really encourage your child to write down the sounds that they know. So it's not going to be perfect. Not everything is going to be spelled correctly, but you want to encourage them, and you can help them even to break out sounds in words. So if they want to write happy birthday, you could help them with happy, h-a-p-e. What sound do you hear first? You can have an alphabet in front of them so they can use that as a resource if they're not sure what those letters look like yet, to write them down. But we want to encourage parents to try not to just tell children how to spell words. So we really want to see them try their best, and that's how they gain confidence too. So if you ever have any questions about the phonics dance or the writing process, please reach out to your teacher. I know writing is one of my favorite things in kindergarten because it's fun to try to decipher what they're writing, what they're trying to say. So I'm sure you will be getting plenty of laughs when the kids start bringing home their writing. I hope you all have a great day, and I know that all the classrooms are off to a great start in kindergarten, so thanks for all your support.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Morrissey, and I am our intervention specialist here at Lang and our reading lab teacher. So I work with various students on reading, and I'm here to talk to you about guided reading today. Guided reading is an instructional approach where teachers work with students in small groups for reading. We work at their own individual level. So we have completed assessments where the student is leveled, and they may be at the beginning of a kindergarten level, middle, end of kindergarten, or even beyond. And we use these readers to complete small group instruction with the students. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the different levels. This is a level A book. And the level A books are very repetitive. This is called My Bedroom. So we're working on the sight word my in this book and the sight word look. So the text may say, look at my bed. And you're going to keep going. Look at my bookshelf. Look at my books. This is where we get maybe a little trickier. Look at my, we're wanting them to remember the repetition in the book for look at my, and when we get to this last word, we're looking at the picture to see, someone might look in there and say toys, clothes, but this starts with cl, so we're wanting them to say closet. So if a child is having trouble, we will prompt them to look at the picture and the beginning sound. Same thing here. Look at my toys. Someone might say, look at my dolphin, look at my bear, look at my car. But we want them to look at the beginning sound of the word and see what makes sense based on the beginning sound. This is a level A text. So an important thing in level A text is pointing to the text, because most kids can remember that pattern and just say, look at my bed, look at my toys, look at my closet, look at my... But we want them to look at each word. Look at my toys. So first we do the reading of the text. We reread it several times. We then do some work with the sight words. We might write on our dry erase board quickly in all four corners, look, 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 or my. And on that, we're having them copy that. Not write that how it sounds. We're having them copy that. We're trying to imprint the word my and look into their head. So that is a beginning level. Here we have a level D text, and this has more detailed sight words. You can look here. You can see big buildings in the city. Some big buildings are called skyscrapers. And the first time you read, you might have to explain what a skyscraper is. Maybe that's not a vocabulary word, so we'll talk about those. You can see parks in the city. There are cars and buses in the city. You can see parks in the city. There are trees in the parks. So again, on a level D, most kids already know the word you and can and see. We've covered those earlier. And we're now working on sight words like there. And some would be another sight word we'd be working on in this text. A couple things with guided reading. Building fluency is so important, and that's where the kids can read it more in phrases and not word by word. And we do that by repetition of reading. We read the same story multiple times. In any given guided reading lesson, we may read the story 3 times. Each lesson, I do a familiar text and a new text. So we've reread a familiar text that we've read. And then often you'll see these books sent home to you to reread as well. It's one of the best things for fluency and also for comprehension. Comprehension is a huge part of guided reading because reading is not just recalling words. Reading is understanding the text and being able to make meaning from that text. So in order to do that, we need to ask questions about the text. We have the literal, the texts that have to do with, the questions that have to do with the story, and then we have the beyond text questions where maybe we're comparing 2 stories, or maybe we're asking them to infer, what do you think? Why do you think they did this? You know, how does this compare to another story we've read? Questions like that. I'm going to talk to you a little more about sight words in general. In kindergarten, we have 45 sight words that the students are expected to know by the end of the year, within the text and in isolation when just shown a flashcard or something, or a list of all the sight words. We kind of break the sight words down by month. And so some of the sight words we've worked a lot on. The first 2 we work on are A and I. They're a letter, but they're also a sight word. We work on me, see, the, like, and very early in the school year. So you may have seen a lot of books coming home with the word see in it. Again, those books are in the text. We do lots of repetition of that. We also add them to our word wall. And a word wall is a resource in the classroom that the children can use when they want to write a word. So we don't want them just trying to sound out the sight words. It's practice if they use what we say, use your resources. So they can look at the word wall, and the word wall has other students' names on it. It also has words like I, a, see, me, the. We introduce those as we learn them, and we put them up there. So whenever the children are writing the word the, they can go to the word wall and find the word the so that they can practice writing it, T-H-E. These are words that you can't sound out easily. You just have to memorize. For reading, as I mentioned in our guided reading books, they're seeing them over and over again in their books. And then at the end of the lessons or in the middle of the lessons, we may say things like, after we finished reading it and we finished talking about it, we'll say, okay, everybody, we either say point to the word look, and they'll find the word look on every page. Another thing we may say is frame the word look. And framing is when you put your fingers, it's hard to do on the camera, put your finger next to one on each side of the word. That's showing us that they can go through the text and discriminate the difference between look and my. So again, we have those 45 sight words. We work on a certain number of them each month. And if the kids are reading higher level books, D and above, they're getting new sight words throughout those books that they're reading as well. That's individualized to their need. Don't ever hesitate to read text beyond their level to them. It's so much fun to read great text to them that they can't read yet, but also to sit down and explore and watch how they are progressing in reading. You are going to be so impressed by what they can do by the end of the school year. And as always, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Hi, parents and families. My name is Lauren Qualls, and I am a kindergarten teacher here at Lang, and I am excited to talk to you about one of our areas of curriculum called Hegerty, and this is a phonemic awareness curriculum that we practice daily in the classroom. So I'll tell you just a little bit about the overview of Hegerty. Like I said, it is a daily practice and it does not have a written component. So it's something that is all done through spoken word, and it's designed to improve our students' reading, spelling, and writing skills so that as the students are learning to hear specific sounds in words. My experience, I have used this program for several years and I am definitely thrilled with the progress that it has helped my students make. So it's definitely a worthwhile practice, and the great benefit is that it is also only a 10 to 12 minute part of our day, sometimes even shorter than that. So it is a very short part of our day that packs a huge punch into students' language development. Their participation in this program is super important because as students are learning how to manipulate sounds and use them in their writing and reading, it's extra important that they are participating so that they can hear and notice the changes in those sounds. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what it looks and sounds like. There are 10 areas that we work on each day in that short time. So 8 phonemic awareness activities that I'll chat about in just a second. And then daily letter or sound practice. So we're doing flashcards with letters and sounds. And there's also some sort of word or sentence, some sort of language activity that improves their language awareness. So oftentimes towards the end of the year, that looks like a weekly nursery rhyme that they're practicing. So phonemic awareness activities include rhyming, identifying the parts of sounds in a word, changing or deleting parts, and blending as well. So I'll go through each of those little points and talk about an example so that you can kind of see what it sounds like in our classrooms as we're practicing phonemic awareness. So the rhyming we have in a couple different stages. At the beginning, we talk about what rhyming words are, and we provide some concrete examples. So students are repeating words like dog, log, or frog, or I guess that rhymes too, frog, log. So those are just some ways that we provide them with concrete examples of things that do rhyme. So once that skill is kind of covered, then we talk about, is it a rhyming pair or is it not a rhyming pair? So I'll tell our students, give me a thumbs up if it rhymes, a thumbs down if it does not, and I'll say a word, you, we. Do those two rhyme? They don't, so we give a thumbs down. And then I'll provide another word pair, bag, tag. Those ones rhyme, so we give a thumbs up. So that's how we begin rhyming and transition to a different and more difficult part of rhyming. And finally, we do rhyming words where we provide one word and the children have to give us words that rhyme with that example word. So if I gave the word frog, then they would give me dog, log, bog, all those different words that rhyme with frog. So after we do that rhyming practice, we'll move on to identifying parts of a word. So at the beginning of the year, we're getting children to recognize the first sound of a word. So if I say the word mouse, they would say mouse, because there's an M at the beginning. And we never ask for the letter. We're always asking for the sound. So if a child is saying mouse, M, they've kind of skipped past that sound. We want them to just tell us that sound. So mouse, or top, t, that kind of thing. So that's the beginning of words that we identify. We also do some fun practice to identify an ending sound next. So beginning sounds, and then we cover ending sounds. And to do that, we often have the children punch it up, such as this. If I were to say the word ball, I would say ball, ball, and I'm looking for that ending sound of the word when I punch it up. We also talk about the middle sound of a word, and that middle sound I like to do a little roller coaster with. So with the word top, I would go t, ah, p. So students are able to isolate each of the sounds in a word. So we make it fun and it keeps children engaged so that we can get that great language awareness practice in. We also practice adding and deleting and changing parts of a word. So at the beginning of the year, this looks like taking apart compound words, such as the word snowman. If I say snowman, take away snow, what part of the word is left? Man. Likewise, if I want them to change a part of a word, if I give them the word snowman, change snow to mail, and they have to think of what that new word would be. The new word is mailman. So that just gets their brain activated for that language awareness activity of substituting parts of a word, because later in the year we do that with sounds. So if I said the word lip, take away ol, they would have to recognize that the ending two sounds are ip. Where if I have them say lip, take away p, then that one's a little bit harder. They say li and leave off that ending sound. So those are a great foundation to when we eventually begin blending. So if we were to blend that word lip, it would sound like ol, I, p, lip. So then they are able to better incorporate that into their writing. Like I said, we are doing this right now with compound words at the beginning of the year. So students take apart and put together words such as the word inside, 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 or they take it apart, inside, inside. So it is a quick, like I said, practice that we blow through each day, but it is really important to our development here in kindergarten. Like I mentioned before, it does really improve writing and reading skills as we do this vocal activity each day. It familiarizes students with that action of breaking apart, changing, and manipulating words and putting them back together based on the sounds that they hear. And the group of skills that we cover in phonemic awareness are hugely contributing to reading success as students go throughout their early years of school. So I included a writing example here that kind of shows what these skills are helping us to achieve here in the early stages of kindergarten. So this child tried to they drew a bear, and then they wanted to write that word next to it. So you can see that they got two sounds there. They got the beginning b and the ending sound. That is a really great example of how Hegerty is able to incorporate into our writing, because if the students are kind of lost on where to begin with writing, then we can say, okay, your word is bear, first sound, and they know first sound, b, b. Okay, I can write that. And then they can punch it up to get that last sound. Their word is bear, so we go bear, and they've got two sounds already. So that's a really great start for a kindergarten writer, and something that we want to praise and acknowledge as an important step in their writing. That is everything information-wise on Hegerty from me. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. If you have any questions about this Hegerty curriculum, be sure to reach out to your child's teacher and they can give you some more information. Thanks so much.
My name is Jane Lynch, and I'm one of the kindergarten teachers at Lang School. This evening, I'm going to talk with you about math and math in kindergarten. I'm excited to get to talk about this. Math has always been my very favorite subject, so it's exciting I get to talk to you about it. In kindergarten and math, we cover many different strands of mathematics, and we will be counting by ones and by tens to 100. We'll be looking at sets of objects and comparing them using vocabulary such as more, less, greater than, less than, least, the same, equal to, all those different kinds of vocabulary words. We'll be working on reading as well as writing numbers from 0 to 20. And we'll also be working on starting at different numbers besides 1 to count. So maybe, they might have to start at 3 and count to 10, or start at 7 and count to 30. So with that, showing the children that you don't always have to start at 1 to count. You can start anywhere in numbers and you can continue to count. We'll be working on the operations of addition and subtraction. We'll talk about the concept of addition and subtraction. We're adding, we're putting things together, and subtracting, we're taking things apart or taking things away. We'll be providing lots of tools to help your children with this, such as manipulatives, like chips or things to help them add things together and take things apart, using our number lines, using the hundreds grid, drawing pictures, making tallies, learning how to count on, all those different things to help with addition and subtraction. We'll be learning ways to make 10, where we know this is a tens frame. And so anytime this is filled up, it's 10. So we'll talk a lot about how, if there are 7 right here, and we put 3 more in, then we have it filled. So now we know 7 plus 3 more is the same as 10, or is equal to 10. We also will be playing lots of dice game. Dice are a great way to be automatic with your with numbers and with adding numbers together. And so we play lots and lots of dice game. One more part of operations that we work on is being able to fluently add within 5. So being able to look and say 1 plus 3 is the same as 4, is equal to 4. Or 4 take away 1 is 3. Where it's automatic for them, they don't need the tools to just know that. So we'll do a lot of practice with that. We'll work on base 10 with teen numbers. Teen numbers are the tricky ones for the boys and girls. First of all, to learn just the names of them. Those are tricky because there's not a great pattern for teen numbers like there are other numbers. However, we'll also talk about how teen numbers are a group of 10 plus ones. So one group of 10 plus some ones is to make different teen numbers. And this is a great way to introduce our place value system. We'll talk about measurement and data by comparing attributes of different things such as weight and length and height, and using terms like more and less, greater than, longer, shorter. And in geometry, we'll talk about both 2D and 3D shapes. Being able to use the vocabulary that goes along with 2 and 3D shapes, and being able to identify and describe them, as well as compare and take shapes apart to make different shapes. So if you take a square and you draw a diagonal line, well, now you have 2 triangles. So we now know 2 triangles put together can make a square. All of us work in our classrooms every day on our calendar activities, and the calendar is it's just filled with math. We do a lot of place value because we count how many days we've been in kindergarten. We talk about the days of the week and the concepts of time. We're always counting on. So our calendar activities just lend themselves easily to math. And we also will be working on word problems, both orally and drawing them out with pictures and objects. So so that's a great thing to do in the car. I see 2 houses. If there are 2 more houses, how many houses do you have altogether? To just do those kind of oral math problems. So in kindergarten, math is very hands-on. We use lots of manipulatives. We play games. We do activities. We do paper pencil with it as well. But we try to make it hands-on as well so that it can be as concrete and so children can really understand the concepts behind all the areas we're working on in math.
Hi, Lang families. I'm Jody Anderson, one of the kindergarten teachers here at Lang, and I'm going to be talking to you about what your child will be learning in science and in social studies this year. Now, we paired those two together because many of the topics that the students will learn in science and social studies are embedded within the stories that we read and the themes and activities that we plan. So while you may not have a science worksheet or activity that you see come home, do know that we are having many discussions here at school about science and social studies topics that kindergartners are required to learn. I just wanted to touch on, though, a few of the power standards, the Ohio learning standards that we do cover in kindergarten so that you could know what to expect this school year. With science, the big overarching concept is that scientists use their 5 senses to observe and to compare and to have conversations about what's happening in the world around us. With science, we will observe all of the seasonal changes, the weather changes, and also some things that are happening in the world around us as those seasonal changes happen. This allows us to really know that scientists just take a step back and observe what's happening. And we can use those 5 senses by seeing, smelling in some cases, feeling, touching, tasting, hearing, all of those things that we can use our 5 senses to explore. Also, we will be learning about living and non-living things, the differences between living and non-living things. And we'll be exploring animal habitats at the same time while we're doing that, and how animals need habitats to help them survive. In the spring, we'll talk about sound, and that sound is actually created through vibration. And that is just another one of those Ohio learning standards that are covered in kindergarten as a springboard for what your children will learn in the future. Moving on to social studies, I would say, like I mentioned with science, that the bigger, higher, the arc of what they were learning in science was observing and using our 5 senses to see the world around us. With social studies, I would say that the bigger learning topic of the year is how time passes. And this is why we use the calendar that you can see behind me to talk about the days of the week, the months of the year, and also, like I mentioned before, it connects to science with how the seasons and the weather changes. So with the calendar, kids need to know that yesterday, today, and tomorrow are different time, and that past is something that happened in the past and future is something that will happen. As we talk about the calendar, we also will explore different traditions and customs as we see the holidays that pop up on our calendar. We use those holidays as ways to discuss what our families do at our homes for traditions, because every family has their own customs and their own traditions, and the children will be able to share what their families do at home as each holiday approaches on the calendar. Another thing we do with social studies is we learn about American symbols that we should recognize as Americans. For example, a simple one is the American flag. We want to be sure that all kindergartners in Ohio recognize some major American symbols like the American flag, the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem. Now, they don't need to be able to sing the national anthem, but we want them to recognize these things as symbols of America. Another thing that we'll do towards the end of the school year is learn about maps. And we try to start with the connection that kids can make with a map of their own bedroom. So we teach them that a map is really just a drawing of a place or a location. And by starting out with something that makes sense to them, we then can go a little bit larger and dig a little deeper with showing them the map of the United States and doing some enrichment with some things that some kids may not be ready to learn, but while others are ready to learn, it's fun to look at that map of the United States and try to find states that you might recognize. One other thing that happens in social studies, but again, it happens throughout the school year in our discussions, is where we just talk about social interactions and appropriate social interactions. So all of the teachers here at Lang try to teach respect and kindness and acceptance in everything that we do and everything that we expect the children, we expect the children to treat their friends with respect and kindness and acceptance. But again, that just is embedded within what we do each day. So hopefully you will enjoy seeing your young learners make some progress this school year with science and social studies. Thank you for joining us. Hope you have a great year.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope that it's been informative, has answered some questions that you may have had, and can lead to some positive discussion with your children in the near future. Also wanted to say thank you for all of the support that our families provide. I'm always blown away by how supportive our Oakwood families are of our schools and of their students. Thank you, and hope the school year continues to go great.